of December. I request you silence your phones and other devices. I also need to point out to you about note on filming, photographing or audio recording of proceedings is allowed. Council asks that as a matter of politeness, people tell the clerk of their intention to record.
Recording.
In interests of encouraging public participation, it is requested that anyone filming does not include members of the public in shot.
Recording, Chair.
Filming.
Item 1 on our agenda is non-attendance of councillors. 1.1 is to receive and note apologies from councillors who are unable to attend the meeting.
I've got apologies from councillors Aston, Ford, Shepherd and Thistleton.
Thank you. 1.2 is to consider reasons for absence provided by councillors who cannot attend and resolve the council's acceptance of these if felt relevant.
In the order of absence, medical appointment, health, medical appointment, work.
Thank you. Councillors happy to accept those apologies?
Yeah.
Thank you. Item 2 on our agenda is the declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest in items on this agenda. Received any declarations? So, okay, thank you. Item 3 is the minutes. 3.1 to approve and authorise the chairman to sign the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 20th of November 2024. Is it council's wishes that sign the minutes?
Yeah.
Any against? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Item 4 is public participation not exceeding 15 minutes. Matters raised must relate to an item on this meeting's agenda. Yes.
Thank you. I've got two questions. The first one, and the vote for the chair, okay? The first one is in relation to the random schedule of meetings that you seem to have had this year. And is that resulting in poor councillor attendance? And is this a deliberate act upon the part of the council and the chair? Or is it just poor management?
It's neither in those cases that you've made mention of. The council have the right to establish whenever they wish to have council meetings. Okay, thank you.
I would have thought that you would want to achieve the best attendance that you can, and random scheduling of meetings does not really play into that. And I would appreciate it if my question could be recorded in the minutes. I have a second question for the chair again, and it is about the accuracy of the minutes. And I would specifically refer you to the item in the minutes, which is item 157/24.5, and that was in relation to the budget at the last meeting on whatever it was, the 19th of November, I think. and there was a specific question raised in that meeting, and it was about the amount of money that had been put aside for legal expenses in the budget. Last year, the amount of money put for legal expenses was £1,000. This year, £10,000. That is a significant increase. I don't understand why those interchanges and those questions are not recorded in the minutes. I have taken my time to go and have a look at some minutes of other parish council or town council meetings in the locality that are clerked by different clerks, and they do that because this is a historic record of these meetings, and when you read them, there is no challenge whatsoever in here. Challenge is a good thing. Can you explain to me why that specific question that was raised by a councillor in that last meeting is not recorded in here? It is very significant.
With regards to the first point you mentioned about the lack of possible attendances at the meetings, again, that's entirely up to those people involved coming to the meetings or not. And it's in your opinion, by the way.
Oh, of course it's my
Okay,
opinion.
moving on to the next point.
But the
With
point
regard,
I'm making...
just moving on to the next
No,
point.
you're missing my point. The point
and
I'm
moving on to
making
the next
is that
point,
you are giving 3 days notice for unscheduled meetings.
Do you wish me to continue on?
Please.
Thank you.
As long as your
With
response
regard-
is recorded, otherwise it's pointless.
Thank
After you.
you. With regards to the second point,
I think we need to know.
was just regarding about the minutes and questions asked with regards to the budgeting, etc. The council need to be prudent on this subject in particular, and therefore any necessary alterations with regards to possible projections with regards to the budget are normally acceptable. Thank you.
You're not answering my question though.
Chairman, if I
My question is, why was the exchange not recorded in the minutes? I understand about prudency. Yes, if the councillor has something to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the minutes are a record of the council's decisions, and it's not good practice to have narrative minutes.
Sure. Thank you very much. That's the norm.
Can I just come in, Chair, on the point that she raised regarding the times of meetings? It's clear to everybody that, to be fair, that was done to stop people coming. And we should go back to 7 o'clock at night when people aren't at work, or the majority of people aren't at work, and make it more available for the public to come and hear and take part.
Okay. Mr. Buckley, I believe.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. I wrote to the clerk on the 25th of November, and it was asking some very detailed questions about staffing costs. It doesn't appear, I did get a reply, and it doesn't appear in correspondence at all. Now, it may well be that the clerk thinks that any letter from me is not worth reporting to the council, and many people would agree with that, but it does raise the question, what correspondence is reported to this council, and how do you know what the relationship between the council is and the public?
The normal way that councils operate, and I don't think we're any different to those elsewhere, is that the information that the clerk has received is indicated to myself and, if necessary, forwarded on to all the rest of the councillors for them to take note of, and when they come to the meeting, they can ask questions and deal with that particular subject.
But how is it filtered? How is
Just
it
the way I've explained it to you.
Say again?
Just the way I've explained it to you, that's the normal process how we deal with it. Thank
Okay.
you.
So have all the councillors seen that, your letter?
No, I don't think so.
I've certainly not seen it.
No.
Has any other councillor seen
Chairman,
the letter, Chair?
Just as a point of interest, I also asked for it to be distributed to the councillors, and it appears that it wasn't. Why not?
I don't know the particular, as we've had numerous letters from you.
I'll send it to you, Chairman. And then-
So
and then
I don't
you
know
will-
which one in particular you're talking about,
Yeah.
this
I'll send
particular
it to you.
instance.
I have a second question, Chairman,
Okay,
and that is to you. How are you going to improve the relationship between the council and the public? Because it seems to me that those relationships have broken down over the last year. What are your plans for the future? How can you improve things?
Resign.
alright, well, once again, this is, in your opinion,
No, it's in our opinion.
All our opinions.
You're West Russians.
the council will deal with the situation in the forthcoming months, as would be normally expected of us.
But how?
Thank you.
Chair, with respect, we've been dealing with this for over a year now, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. The community are. Everything you do is against the community. You put these across, you bring guards in, but none of them are necessary, and that's what's getting people annoyed. And then you spend a large amounts of money where it's unnecessary. Something wrong, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get that on tape.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Charles. Mr. Sharma.
Thank you, Chair. One or two issues I would like to take up with you. You mentioned, number one, at the last incident, that it was our opinion that the situation between the parishioners and this council have deteriorated. It is not our opinion, it is fact. We had a parish poll which explicitly showed no confidence in this council, so to assert that it is an opinion is wrong, factually wrong. The numbers speak volume as to what had taken place. You also said earlier on it was up to the council to decide when it chooses to have its meeting. You are absolutely right, but there is a provision within that you order your meetings in such a manner that the parishioners can attend, and it is advised that it be an evening meeting so anybody working who wishes to attend can attend. We know very well the only reason you reduced the number of meetings was to exclude the public. The only reason you have meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning is to try and limit the number of people who can come here. This is disgraceful behaviour of this council. It is not an opinion, it is fact. The parish poll bears that out. You have no support amongst the community. Tell me how you come to the conclusion that that is an opinion and not fact.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma.
Excuse me, Chair. That's gentleman here.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
My name's Ken Martin. I moved to Scalby about 10 years ago. And when we was looking around for a GP, we was told Dainsdyke was the place to go because Dainsdyke surgery was going to get a nice new surgery. 10 years on, this has not happened. Dainsdyke surgery is falling down. Everybody knows it's falling down. And the parish council seems to have no input into doing anything about it. Now, they can waste money on elections, boards, goodness knows what else, buildings, but the health of all the people around here is governed by two surgeries, both overfull and both in buildings unsuitable. Now, the parish council going to do something about that, please. I understand that the surgery has written to all of you and to all the MPs and the like in the area, all political people. I understand that to be the fact. I don't necessarily, I'm not part of it. I was only at a meeting that told me that my surgery was in danger of falling down and that they were finding it hard to get the number of doctors to stay because of the situation there. So somebody can wave their head around and say that I haven't received a letter, but one wonders as to who's telling the truth. Now, I do know that one of the members of this council did go to the surgery and did speak to them about the problems. So, is that going to be taken on board? And the other part linked to that, they are overfull surgeries. They've got branches elsewhere to try and alleviate that problem, is that we continue to get new houses and new buildings and whatever, and planning permission and desire for planning permission to build new homes, new homes for older folk and new homes for people to live in, and there's no doctor's provision for them. Now, can the council sort of like do something about it, please? It's everybody's health.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I wasn't aware of that situation whatsoever. I certainly haven't been informed directly from
Well, Mr. Bassman went to the surgery.
Danesday surgery activities and the state of the premises or anything like that. So I've not had any communication whatsoever. Although I am registered with Danesday as it happens.
I understand that putting bids over the last 10 or 15 years for various buildings to only be knocked back for various reasons, some of which our village, our towns can't do anything about because it's a government policy. But we should be jumping up and down. The health of the people is far more important than some of the other things that you'll be talking about, no doubt.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Martin. Normally in the past, whenever there's developments in the area, one of the things we've made mention of is the infrastructure, which includes obviously doctors' surgeries, libraries, etc., etc. Unfortunately, we don't get such a great deal of response from that, but we are obviously concerned, and we always obviously make mention of it in various situations. We've made a note of your comments there.
We're part of North Yorkshire now, so a bigger organisation.
Yeah, sure.
A bit more jumping up and down might help. I don't know.
Okay.
I've been here, I know what a waste of time some of it is, but some of it really does happen.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Martin. Okay, thank you very much indeed for your comments, etc. That includes the business of the public participation. Item 5 on our agenda is matters raised in the public open forum. 5.1 to agree action as appropriate on matters raised in the public open forum. You've heard the comments I've already made. Does any of the councillors wish to make any comments in particular on?
If I may, Chair, Mr. Martin's query about the GP surgery, it's not within our remit, our budget, to interfere with GP surgeries. They have their own budget supplied by the NHS, and we cannot interfere with that. Personally, I don't recall applications from Danesday surgery at all regarding moving or changing of building. I do understand the vacancies within the GP department. It's across the whole town. As far as I'm aware, every GP surgery in Scarborough is running on locums, most of which are from outside North Yorkshire. This is not something that we as parish council can affect. at all, because it is not within our budget, it's not within our responsibility, it's down to the NHS.
Yeah, but the parish council can speak to others. And so Mr. Basterman made a very strong, I know he was, and I know that I personally have emailed some of the town councillors about, or North Yorkshire councillors, whatever title you want to put upon them, but yeah, I think people get the gist of what I mean. I had no response from them, but Mr. Basterman went along and actually asked what the problems were. So, and he's, I believe, sits on this council.
If Mr. Basterman has done that, he's done it as a North Yorkshire councillor, not as a parish councillor.
But he could inform this council. That's the point. It's about joined up thinking.
There's nothing to stop us. We're the representatives of the people, allegedly. So why aren't we taking this case to the next level as a council?
I do seem to recall that when I was on this parish council in a different building, that you had reports from councillors as one of the agenda meetings. So that obviously you had some dialogue with the council, whatever the system is set up now, the North Yorkshire Council or Scalby Council, whatever. You know, the dialogue between the people, it's the people speaking. That's why I was on this council and found out that people couldn't speak. And the people come to this meeting and they want to speak. They want to make a difference.
Okay.
We don't get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to come to a meeting. I've got a very ill wife who needs that surgery. You know, my wife is dying because of the lack of care that was taken 5 or 6 years ago. That's nobody else's fault other than the fact that we didn't know. But now she can get some care, and she's now worried sick that her doctor's going to disappear because the surgery will fall down, because the roof leaks, they can't afford the insurance, and then what happens?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin, and I can understand your concerns indeed. I can't speak for Councillor Basterman because, well, if he'd been here right now, or we'd been asking him if he could give any report or what he could, the latest information he could give on the subject.
Yeah, there's another person sitting in this room that I actually emailed as well.
And if it is the council's wishes, then we can find out from Councillor Basterman what the situation is, and if necessary make representation either through him or to find out the situation itself from North Yorkshire Council. But as you point out, not necessarily North Yorkshire Council that's going to be, it's the NHS itself.
Yep.
So we could try to follow that up as best we can. Okay, would councillors be happy enough for us to do that?
Yeah, I think follow it up with Councillor Basterman and see if he
Yeah, that's well. Yeah. This seems to be the first point of call, I would think, as he's had to do with it. Okay, thank you. Item 6 is external report. 6.1 is the police to receive a note report for November incidents covered by a rural policing team, of which the council have all received copies. Is there anything the councillors wish to make a comment about the report? Okay, nothing. Item 7, updates on various matters and councillors' reports and items. 7.1, the allotment. To note, Clark had emailed and spoken with landlord who hoped to be able to provide a preliminary response to the access track improvements in the near future. 7.2, to receive reports from councillors of any highway and footpath matters requiring attention. Councillors have any reports they wish to give about the state of the highway or footpaths in the area? Councillor Penn.
After the last storms, the drains at the junction of Scalby Road and Cordial next to the pedestrian crossing there, particularly on the Proudfoot side, that's blocked with silt. the last great rains of the last week, there was a great big puddle there, and obviously cars and pedestrians, something wants
It's a regular one, that one.
It is, so,
traffic
yeah.
lights, yeah, but still.
it's rock solid.
Okay, thank you for that. Clerk's made a note of that. Just to inform you that I notice basically a new footbridge has been installed across the Calworth Beck near the village green. It seems as if it's been an excellent job's been done. I can't say as to who has actually installed it, whether it's the Environment Agency or it's a big, I would have thought it must be North Yorkshire. So no doubt we will send thanks to them for doing such a good job on that.
I noticed that as well.
Yep. Thank you. If there's nothing further on reports on highways, move on to item 8, correspondence 8.1, to receive and note details of proposed tree preservation order at 5 East Park Road, Scalby.
Sorry. Yes, active security.
Yeah,
Will
could
we-
you go and wait in the courtyard and somebody will be out to see you in a...
Alright, just round the corner, yeah?
Just
In the corner.
just-
Alright, no worries, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't turn up on time.
So councillors wish to take action with regards to the tree preservation order. Happy to accept that tree preservation order being in place. All those in favour? None against?
Do we have any idea why this tree preservation order has been requested? No.
Not exactly, no.
We just
not-
got sent the
just
paperwork.
just the basic paperwork. Just covering the legalities there.
It's in a small area.
8.2 is unlit street lights at bus stop on Field Lane. 1, to note a parishioner has complained about these lights. 2, to receive a report from Councillor Bastiman or the clerk as to the action taken. And 3, to agree action as appropriate. So, Councillor Bastiman's not here, perhaps the clerk, are you able to give any indication as to what's happening?
Yeah, when there's a new housing development, until it's completed and the roads and the other street furniture are adopted, then it is the responsibility of the developer to maintain that stuff. That applies to the High Mill estate. What we've also discovered is that all of the lights at the roundabout on Field Lane and the ones from the roundabout to Calworth Bridge, although they are on a highway which is maintainable at public expense, they are not maintainable by North Yorkshire, they're maintainable by the developers. It's all to do with the legal bits around it and the fact that they were required to be put there as a condition of the original outline planning consent. That gives you the difficulty that if any of those lights in this case aren't working, North Yorkshire won't maintain them, even though everybody thinks they're on the highway. It has been suggested that it's not a particularly sensible way of doing it when there are all those lights and it is a highway maintainable at public expense. It was left that Councillor Bastiman was speaking to somebody in the streetlight department to see if common sense could prevail. I don't know whether it has or not. If it doesn't, then any of those lights that are there, we're going to have to try and press Taylor Wimpey to repair them. In the meantime, you've got a bus stop with 2 brilliant light columns which don't work and everybody has to stand there in the darkness. and it was suggested that mention of personal safety was made to the police, and the answer came back with that it won't make any difference at all. Unless there's been an accident, there's no statistics, and that wouldn't encourage us to do it. So we've got a rather stupid thing where we're sticking to the rule of the law rather than the common sense aspect of things.
Would it be possible for council to
They should be writing.
send a missive to Taylor Whitby with regard to this problem and ask them to deal with it ASAP?
Otherwise, public money that will subsidise.
Yeah, thinking on that lines, once again, I would have thought perhaps we ask details from Councillor Bastian, as he was the one sort of instigating this side of it to some degree, and then progress from there with.
I was going to say, it wouldn't hurt to kick Taylor Whitby either.
You find it odd that, you know, they're held responsible for the thing, so they must be held responsible for the maintenance of it, one would have thought.
Taylor
Anyway.
To back up Councillor Basham and write to the highway department, pointing out that you know, the dangers and the difficulties that people using the bus stop are experiencing, and asking them, you know, either to take up maintenance of the street lights by the highway authority, or push Taylor Wimpey to take it on until the whole estate is finished.
But Taylor Wimpey is not the only developer.
And to until the whole of the estate is finished and it's taken over by the highway authority.
Chair, I thought that, from the clerk might know better, but for highways from North Yorkshire to allow lights to be put on the side of the highway, there will be some criteria or legal contract as to how those lights operate, etc., etc. Should you? That's probably a way of humoring you to that as well.
Bob, were you
I was going to say, why this could go on forever if legal bits and pieces. Why can't North Yorkshire fix them and then just bill them for the work they've done? And then it's sorted, otherwise you could have lights out forever.
Yeah. It's not on a month now, nothing's happened.
You just do it and bill them and then take them to court if you don't pay it or whatever.
My suggestion to you would perhaps be, again, that we inquire from Councillor Basterman where he's got on with the situation, what answers he's received, etc. And then if we're not happy with the outcomes from that we probably do send copies to the Highways Authority as well as Taylor Wimpey regarding this subject, and see where we can go from there. Council would be happy for us to do that.
If I may,
I propose that we go straight to Taylor Wimpey and get North Yorkshire as well, to get something done as soon as possible. People are stood at the side of the road in darkness.
Yes, I was going to say, if I may, just if you were to wear your North Yorkshire hat,
I wouldn't be allowed to. I'm not here as a North Yorkshire person, and I have no intention of wearing my North Yorkshire hat. I am here as Mr. Sharma. I hear it and I do it, and the Danes Dyke problem affects Newby as much as it does Scalby.
Oh, yeah.
So I think perhaps that when you took the decision to exclude North Yorkshire councillors, you knew what you were doing. And just as an aside, I would like to stop wasting time contacting highways, because until the whole development is adopted, you cannot have them taking responsibility, because what that means is public money is being used to subsidise a private development and the profit of a personal company. Don't write to North Yorkshire Council, write to Taylor Wimpey and demand that they fix that. It's their responsibility.
Nobody knows what the criteria is yet, because it's not on the site. These lights are on the side of on the highway. That's
It was,
not adopted.
as the clerk has mentioned, it was part of the development that was taking place. So therefore, having those lights there was a result of the development, and therefore the developer has an obligation to ensure that until they're adopted, they maintain them to a certain standard, along with the roads and all the other things, because until they become adopted, it's a very simple process. They have to meet a certain criteria. Once they meet it, it's a tick box exercise, they can do it. Now, why they're not doing that, I do not know, but Taylor Wimpey is the one you should be going after.
Thanks, Mr. Sharma, and fully realise that that's the norm, that the way to the whole of the estate's completed before they basically adopt the roads network and all the necessary facilities. So yeah. Councillor Boy.
I was just going to propose that, or second your proposal, Chairman, that we ask Councillor Basterman if he's made any progress, and ask him to take it up with the Highway Authority.
Okay, thank you.
No, speculative.
No.
And save some time.
Okay.
We don't need anybody.
With Councillor Basterman to see if he's got any further information. The two bodies that I should be communicating with is the Street Lighting Department of North Yorkshire, because they are the people that ultimately are responsible for the street lights, and also Taylor Wimpey, because as Mr. Sharma says quite correctly, until something is developed, then the Section 258 agreement does not come into force. So if you want that progress, you can't leave it at talk to Councillor Basterman. It has to be, what you instruct me to do has to include Taylor Wimpey.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay.
Could I add then that we contact, as well as contacting the Highway Authority, contact Taylor Wimpey. My thinking is that it will have more impact coming from the Highway Authority to Taylor Wimpey than coming from the town council. But there's no harm in it coming from both.
Okay, thank you. So you heard the comments from the clerk there, and asking councillors if they would agree with what the clerk's made mention of there, but just going direct to the two authorities. Councillors prepared for that? Okay. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Are there any against? Okay. Okay, clerk, you're happy with thank you. 8.3 is correspondence received after the 13th to the 12th 24, which the chairman of the meeting deems it necessary to consider as a matter of urgency.
Just the one item.
Just the one item, okay.
It's an email from a parishioner with regard to what I suspect is a blocked gully which is causing flooding on the corner of the Meadows and the Green. They got in touch, there aren't any photographs, they do say that they will get some and forward them. The request is for us to report the matter to North Yorkshire Highways. I'm not altogether sure that there'll be much point in reporting it until we've got photographs to show the difficulties that are there, especially as it's on quite a bit of a hill. So I'm struggling to see where the flooding is. I'm quite sure there is flooding, it's just that I think it might help if I have the photographs before I report it. How does council want to deal with this, please?
So, council happy that the clerk contacts the parishioner and asks if they can provide us with photos, if necessary, of the great the flooding side of it is probably all gone by now, but at least we can indicate where it was, etc.
If I may, Chair, the bottom of the Meadows and the Green has historically flooded. There are reported permanent issues years and years ago, we've been moaning at the governors of the school, for them to contact, North Yorkshire Council, because it's not just us, it's got to be a joined up thought. I noticed, when I visited one of my daughters, that there was flooding down there. It was just before the storm, not after. So I think it would pay if we report it to highways and keep an eye out for rain and go and get some photos. And if the parishioner would help as well, that would be useful.
Okay, and no doubt if we can get some response from that and the photos, we'll add in the piece that it's been a regular thing in the past. Not just a one-off, 1 in 100, as the talk about each time.
The footpaths there are horrendous. You've got kids wading through 4 inches of water to get to school.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Council, happy that that's the action we'll take? Through the clerk. Thank you. Item 9 is finance, regulatory and general matters. 9.1 is to approve the schedule of accounts payable for December 2024.
Chair, can I just ask a question?
Yes, Councillor.
On the spreadsheet, under various, it's got staffing and an amount of shown there. What's the breakdown of that amount? Is it just for one member of staff? Is it for other people? Is it for overtime? Is it just purely for wages?
Well, we do have a breakdown of that, and that is provided for us, and it's indicated on that particular breakdown.
Why can't councillors see that breakdown? We're asking us to authorise something we're not seeing.
As you're probably full aware, it is a staffing and personnel, and it's confidential, and it's not in.
I'm not asking it to the public, Chair, I'm asking it for councillors to see. We have a right to know. We have a right to see. You're asking people to give you permission to sign it. But these people aren't seeing what it says. And sometimes it's not only for staffing, sometimes it might be for other things. It doesn't, I don't believe, having read it, fits in with the financial regulations.
Well, that's a particular subject we're about to come on to at some point.
I appreciate that.
So what's the answer to the councillor's question, please?
What do other councillors feel? Are they happy to sign stuff without
Chairman, I'm quite happy that its staffing is confidential, and it probably covers matters as well as wages. It'll cover tax.
Excuse me.
It'll cover pensions.
Yeah.
I'm happy to approve it.
It is not confidential to councillors. Councillors should be allowed to see it.
No.
And it isn't always, sometimes it's just various to the staffing.
The other councillors wish to make a comment on this particular subject?
I think a breakdown would be too. I mean, if it's a percentage to pensions or whatever, then that would be fairly easy to let us see and go from there.
But how do you know without seeing it?
Yeah, I'd say for us to see.
I do think if council want that all names should be removed. It is purely confidential to our employees.
You only got one.
Well, you may have
There,
more.
there.
We don't know what secrets they hold.
I think it's difficult to do that without revealing, you know,
Personal information.
personnel information, and that's why, you know, have the rule that, you know, it's you only need to know it. So presumably the staffing committee sees.
Presumably is a big word in that situation.
But, and the rest of the council don't need to know that to carry out their role.
Rubbish.
I'm sorry, but that's
Rubbish.
exactly what they do need to know. That's what you're here for. Scrutinise. And you're not scrutinising.
Well, I approve it.
You're standing it blind.
Well, you would.
Give some information to this.
Yes, Clark, thank
I can't believe it.
This procedure was brought in order to comply with GDPR and the fact that staffing and personnel matters are confidential. At the time it was brought in, there was more staff than there are now, but it was brought in, I think, at the council meeting in May 2023, and at that time there was a different chairman to council who is now on this council, and at that time there were no objections whatsoever. It was agreed that this was the best way to do it, so that the people who were approving the payments could actually see that each of the parts were there, because that is what they see on the bank payment, rather than a sum total, which is what you are being asked to look at.
Correction.
The external auditor and the internal auditor did not have any comments on that application. So this procedure has been in place from round about June 2023 and has been up to press perfectly acceptable to members of council. I have no recollection that it has been challenged previously.
I have a recollection.
you. Thank you.
The year is correct, and I actually, council weren't getting to know any details whatsoever. It was varied, not even the people signing, and it was me that asked the clerk, asked chairman, to show it, intending it to go to every councillor, but as usual, things were thrown into the long grass and done a long way around. It went to two who were doing the authorisations. That's why you're in the state you are now. You employ the clerk, and you're not seeing the breakdown of wages. If you accept it now, you're accepting the other things go in there apart from wages. And I would strongly advise you do your jobs and examine what you should be examining.
Mr. Chairman, I find that extremely offensive statement.
Why?
A councillor is implying that I am not being truthful with the information that is presented to them.
No,
and
he
I find
isn't.
that
I have not
extremely
suggested that for all
That
minutes.
is not
What
what
the
he's
suggestion
saying.
is that councillors should have the right to see it. I have not implied that and not tried to say I have.
I would say, Mr. Chairman, that at the moment this council only has one member of staff. That member of staff is entitled not to have its financial affairs published all over the internet and throughout the whole of the universe. That is the same whether you have one member of
Rubbish.
staff or you have 20 members of staff.
But the way around
As
it,
the clerk said, Chair, that would be in breach of GDPR.
we all know that. The one that goes on the internet doesn't have to have everything spelled out, but the one signed by councillors should have. Go on, councillor.
Could we make sure that we can hear everything that is being said by all councillors and not
I'm not
mumbling
taking
in the
any
background?
interruptions from the public, if you don't mind.
I'd like to
Thank you.
hear what's being said over here.
Okay, so, do I have a proposition with regards to the?
Proposal approved, Schedule 9.
Vote against it.
I propose that we don't.
Grow backbone,
Is there a second
councillors.
for that proposal? All those councillors in favour of the proposal?
Conflict of interest.
And those against? Okay.
Can I have a recorded vote, please, Chair?
He can't vote.
Yeah.
You can't.
Right, as a recorded vote has been asked for, can I please ask the chairman if you will ensure that the vote is retaken so that I can record the names, please?
That's your job.
Yes, of course. Not a problem.
Your job to record the votes. You're the clerk.
All those in favour of the proposal, would you indicate?
Right, got Rose.
Thank you. And those against?
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a point of fact,
Council,
Chairman,
Council,
the clerk gets
sorry,
paid
I'm not taking any.
£62,360.
Not taking any interruptions from the public, thank you. So,
£62,360.
moving on is councillors'
Excuse
wishes
me,
that are,
I need to know who is going to be doing the online authorisations, please.
that's what I'm about to.
Right, sorry.
Charge. How much money was
So
she paid?
It was £62,360.
62,300. My goodness
The
me.
schedule of accounts. So 9.1 is approving the schedule of accounts.
Yeah, no wonder they didn't want that.
Wish that
Well,
I'll sign these as a true record, etc. for the accounts, thank you.
That's me. Nice work if you can get it.
It's unbelievable amount of money.
It's increased from 21,000 just a few years ago. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But we don't report it to council.
No.
Councillors are all prepared to visit the sculpture and yeah. So, okay.
That's why the week.
No idea. There's probably a huge amount of overtime. It's just some-
9.2 is to set the precept for 2025-26. And you'll see within your pack you've obviously received the report regarding this subject. Councillors wish to make any comments on the report?
It's quite alarming, Chair, the legal costs and the potential legal costs that could be against this. And it would appear, and I don't say too much, but it would appear that all this goes back to a hasty decision this council made in November last year.
It's that agreement, Jackie. Usually you tap on things to agree. It was just a sleight of the hand.
It was affection.
Thank you, Councillor Terrors, for your comments.
No, it's a statement you
Item
have to
one
respond
is-
to.
I think this is to see a prudent recommendation for
Covering your
the
backside.
propose we accept the recommendations.
Okay, yeah. Just before we do that, we've just got to point out, it says about the recommendations too, which is that the council does not increase the precept. Happy with that decision?
Yep.
Okay. So moving on to
Sorry,
item
before
3.
we move on. Just one question I'd like to ask, because in the proposed precept, this year's money was £20,000 in for Fowlside Pond, and next year there's no money at all. What's going to happen to the 20,000 that's in this year's budget?
Well, as I explained to you earlier on, they're not set in stone, the budgeting. It's purely for us as a council to look to, as best we can, to the future as to where monies are going to be used and how we can relate that to the parishioners, etc. So, we've taken that on board, and then obviously some adjustments may well have to be made on one particular thing to go to something else. Okay?
If that pond is dangerous now, I'd advise everybody to have a look at it when you're a councillor.
So, item 3 is the council sets the precept for the financial year. Is councillors happy to accept that proposal? All those in favour? Are there any against?
So I
Okay,
accept
that is
all three
so-
recommendations of that report.
Yes, that's correct. Nine point three is the financial regulations, suspension of FR 3.5 and variation FR 19.2, both until 15th of the 1st, 26, of which we have a report. Just need to inquire from council if they agree to the actions. Happy to accept the report. Yeah.
Can I ask, I mean, I wasn't obviously on when all the COVID business was about. I can understand why it was done. I just can't understand why it's been suspended till 2026. Is the reasons behind that?
As a matter of curiosity, Chairman, what is the, what are those regulations?
It's the God forbidden harm. Covers us in the God forbidden harm.
Can you speak up so we can
Who's
hear?
chairing this? You or the chairman? Can we have an answer, please?
Councillor,
Sorry, I was just following up what Councillor Kendall was saying. You know, is this still useful? You know, even after the COVID situation.
The danger is that it becomes commonplace and it happens every month. In my mind, if you don't have this, it should be a proven emergency.
I'd ask the chairman to draw to council's attention paragraph 1, which says that work to review the regulations stalled and it's hoped that it can be restarted during 2025. If it's restarted and the regulations are changed and altered, then any variation will be able to be withdrawn at the time. But at the moment, my recommendation is that you continue the suspension.
so
Why is it
So
somebody
the
needs?
recording is the council's receiving and noting the report. Are you happy to note it all that? Is council happy enough to extend the suspension as indicated to 2026? And the 3 is council extending the variation of financial regulations to the 15th of January 2026.
Just ask a question, Chair. Have the National Association of Local Councils issued an up-to-date template financial regulations, taking into account the new procurement regulations?
I don't think that their current offering includes the new procurement regulations. I think what they've done is send out a note which says, there are now some new procurement regulations and you may need to attend and look at the figures that are in them. The biggest problem with the review is that the NALC financial regulations are laid out in a completely different way to our existing ones, so it's a big job to make sure that we get everything in and we comply with the new ones that are on the motorway. So has council agreed to all of the recommendations in the report?
No.
All those, I'm just about to take the vote, Councillor Tarrant. All those in favour of the proposal? And those against?
Can we vary the wording on this 1 and 2 and 3 that if everything's sorted before January, then it is noted that we will, cancel all this. I mean, it doesn't say it here, but it was intimated that if everything gets sorted out before 15th of January 26th, and things would be suspended, they would be stopped. So we'll make note of that.
If we adopt new financial regulations before next January, then it'll automatically.
Yeah. We've got clarification as well, but anything further. Okay.
Could I have a vote on that, please, Chair?
Yeah, going to indicate
Again, please. Against.
The security guard is waiting instructions. One of them has gone to Proudfoot to do some shopping, and the other one is waiting for instructions.
We were going to out and see you.
Has that been noted?
Ask them if they're providing back these things.
Cheers.
I hope you're not paying for them.
Does his pay come under staffing?
Varies.
So, 9.4 is the internal audit.
Waste of money.
Yeah.
Management by text.
Yeah.
So 9.4 is the internal audit for July to October. Councillors to receive and note. Councillors receiving and noting their. Thank you. And 9.5 is the internal audit to note the current auditor will not be offering a service to this council for the 25-26 financial year onward, and to agree action as appropriate. So Mr. Carey's been quite long serving, I think, with his duties as auditing, and we send thanks to him for the period in time that he's covered that. It's most appreciated. Council have some suggestions on obtaining a new audit.
Is there not a list somewhere of council auditors? YLCA should have one, Mount should have one. Can we get in touch and get one, please?
Why have you already done it?
Right.
Is that would be the normal action that we would take?
I don't know, it's whatever council decides.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So
Can I just ask you, at this time, there would be changing the internal auditor, and we've seen the expenditure of the precept and budget, and I've noticed this is an action some other council are doing. Would it be a time to set things dead straight, to find out where we are, and have an independent auditor come in and go through the accounts fully?
That's what an internal auditor.
Yeah.
Are being fully, not just ticking little
I
boxes.
think that would be
Well,
a very large waste of the money.
Bless me, depends on how the money's there.
Mayor Clark, 63
Well,
grand.
Mr. Carey is an independent auditor, so. Okay, so
I'll second that proposal.
we inquire from health inspector to the or the wireless DAC people if they have a list of independent auditors. Obviously, it'd be handy if they're somewhat closer in this area to deal with the situation. Okay, happy to go along with that.
So, yeah, and I'll
Yeah, we-
report my findings to a future meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Item 10 on our agenda is planning application and appeals notified. The first one, ZF 24/01738/HS, single story side and rear extension at 18 Ridge Green, Scalby. Councillor, have had any comments you wish to make on it? Had a look at the plans myself. I'm happy to personally leave it at
No objections.
no objections. Okay, thank you. Item 2 is ZF 24/01743 HS. Erect a single story rear extension at 15 Millway, Scalby. Similarly, look through them. Don't have any objection whatsoever. I think it's in order. Okay. Happy to approve. And 3 is ZF 24/01809 HS. Erect single story extensions to front and rear elevations from the Parish Hall Cottage, Scalby Road, Scalby. Okay, so once again, it seems to be in
It is a
order.
very, very large front extension there. But unless the planning authority and planning officer has any objections, I don't think we could really object to it.
It's very well screened and it's
Yeah.
a single story.
Yeah.
I haven't got any objection.
Yeah, those considerations is what I considered as well, so I think in proportion, okay, personally. Councillor Campbell, did you want
Regarding that one, is there any way that we can enforce, I'm thinking of the users of the parish hall, that the building contractors, when it does start new materials, do not hamper the entrance and exit to the hall itself? If we should speak to the trust, we can designate an area as a storage area, but certainly not blocking our existing patrons from using it.
Yeah, I think that might well be a useful thing to do, and hopefully they'll take note of that, and then we'll have to get back to community hall people if necessary to make provision for that as well. Councillor, happy enough to do that?
Yeah.
Include that, so it'd be so good as to include that as part of our reply to that
Last meeting.
Thank you. So, so that's all three approval. You'll note from item 11, the planning decisions, appeals and withdrawals, that all of those have been granted and with conditions, etc. So moving on to, sorry. Item 12, the planning matters received after the 13th, the 12th, 24, as notified after the distribution of the agenda to agree comments as appropriate.
No.
Clerk, we've not had any, thank you. Item 13 is reports on outside bodies and events attended. To receive reports from councillors. I don't have any reports from councillors. Okay, thank you very much. Item 14 is exclusion of the press and public. Consider a motion that of the provision of the Public Bodies Admission to the Meetings Act 1960, the press and public be excluded from the meeting on the grounds that the next items relate to legal, personnel or contract matters. Okay. Item 15 is confidential items. Sorry.
Would you like us to leave? Stating a fact and requesting our leaving are two different things. Would you like us to leave?
Well, you've heard me read out what the item 14 says. It's the exclusion of the press and public.
Yes.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean to say you're going into that forum now. So if you ask us to leave, we will
I
leave.
shall be moving on to the next item.
Well,
after
I
that.
think you should ask us to leave then.
Okay?
Okay, what? Are you asking us to leave?
Yes, if you'd be so good.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
requesting that, and we will oblige.
Excellent, thank you.